So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. And welcome you back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Tuesday, November 10th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Tuesday, November 10th, almost halfway through the week with tomorrow being Wednesday. Last night, the New York Jets fell to 0-9 on the season. Another loss, another painful loss. This one hurt more than I think the other 8 losses we've had this season, only because this game we had in our hands and we completely threw it away, letting up 13 points in the fourth quarter, having a total of 2 yards in the fourth quarter on 4 plays. Flacco threw an interception as the first play. Second half woes continue for the New York Jets. So really just another awful second half for the New York Jets. The first half was everything we wanted and some. I mean, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting the Jets to score 27 points. You know, if you know what I'm saying. So, obviously, the Jets' second half woes continue. We now move to 0-9 in the season, and the tanking and the trying to get Trevor Lawrence continues for the New York Jets, as we are now down to just 7 more games left on the season. And we'll actually read the Jets' schedule and kind of show you that they're going 0-16. They are. So it's gonna be interesting. But we'll cover it all today on the podcast. Another frustrating loss as a Jets fan. And with all that being said, these are the topics for today. Changed it up a little bit. Not completely change it up, but these are the topics. So I'm going to talk about Jets and Patriots. Give you my talk about it. Give you what I thought my weekly kind of Jets tirade. Although I'm not crazy angry over the loss. Also the fact that at this point in the season when we're 0-9. If they lose, it's to the point now where it doesn't even matter. Like, it doesn't even matter at this point. We lose. Our playoff hopes have been done since the beginning of the season because I don't think any of us expected them to make the playoffs. So, and by now, especially 0-9, we are guaranteed to finish under 500. Even if we go on and somehow win 7 straight, we're still under 500. So, not like if we would have won 8 straight. Not that we were going to, but now we're officially finishing under 500. So there's really nothing to really think about that's positive for the season. So at this point, we lose. I don't really, I'm at this point where I'm kind of just like, you know what? I just want the draft to be here already and just, have our 2 first-round picks. I want to see what the offseason has for us, that kind of stuff, But it's going to be interesting. And then fantasy football, we're going to talk about that on one topic because my second topic I really wanted to talk about, and that also leaves me for more room tomorrow to talk about a whole variety of stuff. Trying to change it up with the topics. I noticed, I've been looking back at some of my pods. I'm talking about football every single day pretty much. So tomorrow I'm going to talk, I think, a little bit about MLB free agency, and I might talk a little bit about the NBA. They made a new deal. They're starting December 22nd. I may kind of talk a little bit about that. Not so much about the plan, but about kind of the Nets, give you a little bit of a preview. And then today, my second topic is Kentucky basketball schedule. I'm going to give you their schedule. I'll read it to you. It came out Friday, but with the football, I couldn't talk about it on Friday because it came out after I did my podcast. And then yesterday I talked about all the weekends of football. So today it's not really that late I'm doing it, but I'm going to talk about that, give you the ranking. The AP Top 25 came out yesterday. The Kentucky's number 10 right now to start the season. That could very well change. And I'm going to give you the roster. It's the brand new roster. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think there's one remaining player, and that's Keon Brooks from last year's team. A brand new roster. Boston, Topman, guys like that. BJ Boston, Topman, guys like that, Keon Brooks are going to be the game changers for our team. So we're going to talk about that coming up. And then we got the college football games. There's about 4 on tonight. I think some small games that I'll just give you my pick. Don't know too much about them, but, give you my pick. Some sports on tonight. Then tomorrow, I'm pretty sure there's more games. And obviously Thursday, you got Thursday Night Football. So with all that being said, this is the BSN Arc podcast, and let's get right into it. So last night, the New York Jets fell and crumbled late to a 0-9 record on the season and going into their bye week with a very difficult loss to swallow for the New York Jets. And as me as a New York Jets fan, I know there's many New York Jets fans that are happy that they're losing. I've said this so many times. I've expressed myself. I get frustrated when they lose. I get frustrated watching the games, and I've always said this. I am not a fan of tanking. I don't like it. When you look forward to a season, when we're talking back in May when we didn't even know if we have a season, when the NFL hit, when the NFL's first week started, I was so excited and stuff, and to now root for them to lose the rest of the season is just like a wasted year. So I want to see the Jets obviously go out there and try to win some games to at least give me something positive to root for, especially come out of the season. If you have 0-16, there's really nothing positive you could have looked back on the season. And also, I know a lot of people want Trevor Lawrence, but if people were to look at the facts, Trevor Lawrence might not be a guarantee for us. He's keeping the door open for multiple options, whether that's requesting a trade, whether that's asking for the Jets not to draft him, whether that's going back to college. So Jets fans, if the Jets if the Jets have more of these embarrassing losses, more of these crumbling losses late in games or whatever, Trevor Lawrence might not be the best destination for him to come to. And then you might think, what the next quarterback is, Justin Fields. Well, that might not be his either. So you got to think, a lot of these Jets fans are so pumped to get Trevor Lawrence, but that's not a guarantee. We've seen it happen throughout the years. I mean, Jets fans saw it happen. Peyton Manning, after we went 1-15, Peyton Manning, elected not to come to the Jets. He elected to stay one more year in college. He ended up got drafted in the Colts. You already know the rest is history. He's a Hall of Famer. So, that's why I don't like to root for it. But let's get into last night's game. The New York Jets, to tell you the truth, played a very, 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 very good football game in the first half. And they did. And I can't take that away from them. They played a good football game in the first half. I understand they played good. At the end of the day, it is a loss, though, so the negatives outweigh the positives. But there was a lot of negatives from this game. I'm going to give you the positives first because I actually do think there was a game there was a couple of positives from this game. The Jets came out firing on all cylinders. I mean, the Jets came out early in the game. They were playing good. They looked good. They went down there, kicked the field goal. Wasn't, the best drive in the world. Then they allowed a touchdown. When they allowed that touchdown on the first drive and it was 7-3, I was like, oh, yeah. This is going to be a blowout. I mean, Cam Newton absolutely just drove down the field. I think there might have been like 1 second down. He was getting first downs. The Jets defense looked like they weren't even existing. I mean, it looked like they were sleeping out there. Just open receivers, just horrible defense overall in that first drive. And when he scored, I was like, okay, this is going to be a long night. Sure enough, the Jets defense did come up with a lot of stops. That first half, if you're looking at that, I think that's one of the best first halves the Jets have played all year long. And maybe the best first half we've seen since maybe last season. Or maybe even a couple seasons ago. I mean, the Jets played a good first half of football. I mean, their defense held them to only 10 points. They had the 7 on the first drive. Then after that, they only allowed 3 the rest of the half. They had 7 on the first drive, which brought them down to like 6 minutes in the first quarter, which I'm going to tell you what, and even the announcers don't know about this. That's first quarter yesterday was the quickest, and I even experienced it too. It was the quickest first quarter I've ever seen in a game. I mean, it was so quick. Cam Newton was perfect passing, so there was really no incompletions. The Jets had a long drive to start the game. They had like a 6-minute drive. Then the Patriots drove downfield at like a 6-minute drive, and then that equaled to only about 2 minutes remaining. And then the Jets had the ball, and then they ended up scoring to start the half, start the second quarter. The Jets had a big second quarter. That's what I really noticed here was the big key there. The Jets had a big second quarter, and that was big because you obviously are going out there, you're winning, you're down 7-3. It was one of those situations where, you notice, defense wasn't playing the best in the first quarter. They ended up turning around and playing good pretty much the rest of the game. But this Jets offense took over in the second quarter, scoring 17 points. They scored more points in the second quarter than we're averaging in games all season. We're averaging about 11, a little bit over 11 a game, and they scored 17 in the second quarter. So the second quarter was pretty solid for the New York Jets. They go into the half at 20-10. They allow a field goal to Nick Folk. They go into the half 20-10, which wasn't awful. Was pretty good. I mean, I remember even sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, yeah, the Jets aren't winning this game. And I know you might think, well, why are you so negative stuff? Well, I just seen it so many times. I mean, the Jets did what the Bills are on this season. They had all of us Jets fans all like, okay, we might actually upset this Bills team, and we ended up not. We ended up losing to a kicker who's kicked 6 field goals and connected. For a kicker who ended up making 6 field goals. We lost to Tyler Bass that game. And our offense was stalled in the second half, had 4 total yards in the second half. Well, that same thing happened in the third quarter for the New York Jets. So the Texans, or the Patriots, get the ball to start off the third quarter. They drive downfield. That drive in the third quarter to start that looked exactly like the drive to start the game in the first quarter. It was driving right downfield. Defense couldn't stop him. Newton was firing on all cylinders, period, all end of sentence. Then it was 20-17. Now, at this moment, the Jets here, I'm sitting here thinking, oh, here we go. Here are the woes again. Here are the woes. Here are the second half woes. Defense looks flat. Offense comes out. I'm waiting for a bad drive. That was not the case. The offense came out and ended up scoring. Brashad Perriman, let me just say, had a big game. He had a very, very huge game. Flacco had a lot of good connections with him. But overall, he, obviously played. It was obviously pretty good for Brashad Perriman. They go out, score a touchdown for Brashad Perriman, that ends it. So going into the fourth quarter, and this is where I started to get a little bit more confident because we were up by 10. Our defense after that first drive of that third quarter started to stop them, and we had 2-3 straight drives where we were just stopping them. And I felt pretty confident going into the fourth quarter. I was like, okay, maybe we actually squeak out here with a win. And I know a lot of people don't want the Jets to win, even Jets fans, just because they want to see him tank. They want to see him get a good pick. But what I'm sitting here and tell you this is I can't stand the Patriots. I can't stand them. I don't like Belichick. I don't like pretty much half that team. I don't like Brady, who used to play there. I just don't like him. Patriots have destroyed us all these years. I can't turn around and all of a sudden root for the Patriots to beat the Jets. So, I obviously was rooting for the Jets. I know there's a lot of fans out there, but I was sitting there like, okay, maybe we actually upset this Patriots team. Going into that, especially we were driving outfield. Perriman scored a touchdown with about like 36 seconds left in that third quarter, and it was put us up by 27-17. Now this is where the normal, awful, atrocious New York Jets entered the game. So obviously this team, this three-quarter team that we saw, I don't know what team it was. They obviously left. They went home. And the New York Jets came out of the locker room, and they blew this game. So I don't know what team was out there for the first three quarters. I don't know if it was, a couple Seahawks players and maybe a couple, Steelers players entered in the game or whatever. I don't know what it was. But whatever Jets, insane or, very, very, very good Jets team, they left the field. They went home. They're like, you know what? We did our job. Now the normal Jets team went out there in the fourth quarter. They entered out of the locker room. They went out there. They were all good. The normal play calling was back. Our defense was back. There it is. There it is, our offense. Our offense, there it is. The great offense. It's back out there. So that Jets team we saw the first three quarters, those guys, they left the field. And a brand new Joe Flacco came out. A brand new Frank Gore came out. All these guys came out. And that's where the fourth quarter took a tumble from there. And the fourth quarter, a lot happened in a very short amount of time. 15 minutes, the Patriots scored 13 points. So the fourth quarter started with a very, very frustrating drive for Joe Flacco. So the Patriots go down the field. They end up kicking a field goal. I'm pretty sure it was a field goal. And this was awful. And this was awful. This fourth quarter, this was the worst. I think this was the worst quarter we might have seen the Jets play all season. This was awful. This fourth quarter out of the New York Jets was atrocious. There was nothing you could say that this fourth quarter was good. They had 2 yards of offense. They ran 4 plays in the fourth quarter, had 2 yards of offense. 2 yards, people, in one of the biggest quarters of the game. 2 yards in a 10-point game, and you're getting 2 yards of offense in the fourth quarter. So this is how the fourth quarter started. Patriots drove downfield. They actually burned a lot of clock. And this play really, I don't know. They ended up still having to kick the field goal because the Jets defense did make a stop. Thankful Cam Newton slipped on the turf. But this play in particular, I think, shifted the momentum to the Patriots. Even though they still got stopped. Even though they still got stopped and still had to kick the field goal, I still feel this play shifted the momentum to the New England Patriots. I don't know how I still feel it did. That 12 men on the field penalty absolutely destroyed us. That 12 men on the field penalty. How bad can it get for a football team to have 12 men on the field like that? Especially the clock stops, you have time to transition in, and you have 12 men on the field. That is not only on the players, but that's bad coaching. That is undisciplined football right there. And I was watching the game. I know the Jets still were able to stop Cam Newton and the Patriots offense, and they still had to kick a field goal. It just took 3 extra plays. I know that. But still, I still believe this gave this Patriots defense, or Patriots team, a spark. And I don't know why, I just feel that. Because then that next drive, you want to know what the problem was too? Not only did that penalty hurt them, that 12 men on the field penalty was just awful. And it didn't cost them that badly. It didn't. I still do think it gave them momentum, but it's not like the Patriots took that penalty, and the Patriots actually did a pretty bad job taking advantage of that penalty. I mean, the Patriots look awful, inside the 5-yard line there, so they looked awful after that penalty. I thought for sure they were just going to pound it up the middle or something and score a touchdown. I was like, oh, here we go again, 27-24, and now it's a 3-point game. Instead, they had to still settle for the field goal, but still, the fact that there was that 12-man field on the penalty, that 12-man on the field penalty was just awful. And then you go back here, and then Joe Flacco and his team comes out, and they had a decent third quarter. Wasn't amazing. Perryman called a touchdown. It wasn't amazing, but they still had a decent third quarter. They go out there, and in the fourth quarter, first play of the game, first play of the fourth quarter. Now, I think this is a horrible throw. I'm not just saying that was because of his interception. If J.C. Jackson dropped this ball, I still think it was a horrible throw, okay? You had about, I think it was a cover 2 or something. But you had not too much, it wasn't too much cushion they were giving you. Mims goes deep. Now, Flacco, this might have been one of those plays where you're going to throw it deep to that guy, because Flacco seemed like, if you look at his eyes on the replay, it looked like he was looking downfield, period. But this was a horrible throw. So, J.C. Jackson, you obviously had McCourty back as the safety. J.C. Jackson in the corner. He drops back. Now, he's going back. Now, he about cuts across the field for about 15 to 10 yards, somewhere like that. And then now it's double coverage. He threw that ball into double coverage to Denzel Mims. Now, it wasn't, if it was single coverage, McCourty to Mims has the height advantage, sure. First off, he didn't even give Mims a chance. He overthrew him by 5, 6, 7 yards. So he didn't even give Mims a chance. Even if that was one-on-one coverage, it would have been incompletion. He didn't give Mims a chance. That ball was overthrown. And also, even if it wasn't overthrown, it was still double coverage. I'm assuming the two guys would have won that battle. Whether that was an incompletion, whether it was still an interception, whatever. But that was a horrible throw by Flacco. Even if that ball was not an interception, I still would sit here today and say that was a bad throw. Because either way, if J.C. Jackson never came behind him and got him and intercepted that ball there, he wasn't there. Even if it was one-on-one, it still would have been an overthrow. It wasn't Mims' fault. It was Flacco. It was just a bad throw. And I don't know, I like taking deep shots. But when you're in a game like that where you're 27-20 and it's about 5 minutes left on your clock, I feel like you should not take those deep shots like that. Especially double coverage. I mean, Flacco's been in the league since, 2008? I mean, this is a guy has more passing yards than one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest, in Joe Montana, and he's going to make a decision like that? I mean, that was awful. I mean, that had to be one of the worst decisions I've seen a Jet quarterback this year make, even worse than Darnold's. And Darnold has made some bad decisions. That was a very bad throw, and that throw costed them the game. That throw right there costed them the game. They ran 3 more plays on offense. Patriots drove downfield, scored. It was 27-27. Jets get the ball back. So Jets get the ball back under 2 minutes. I'm thinking here like, oh my gosh, we might win this game. I wasn't, after they scored that touchdown, I was not hopeful. Especially after, actually no, it was after Flacco got sacked. It was right after Flacco got sacked. It was that second down and I think 2. And this was another bad read by Flacco. I understand he got sacked, but Flacco had time in the pocket. P. Ryan, and I don't know if he's going to probably look at the film today, but I don't know. He missed him. P. Ryan was wide open. P. Ryan right in front of him for what the play he just did. He was wide open. There was nobody near him. They played it backed off. No one was near him. I mean, P. Ryan caught the ball. He had 10, 15 yards of running room ahead of him. No one was near P. Ryan. And Flacco missed that. I mean, he was right in front of him, too. Flacco just missed that. I don't know if Flacco heard the pressure coming and he didn't want to drop back his arm and possibly get it stripped or whatever. I don't know what it was. But Flacco also had about a couple feet in front of him to step up in the pocket and make a throw. He missed P. Ryan there. P. Ryan had 10, 15 yards of running room ahead of him and whatever more maybe he gets from, whether that's putting his head down and driving, whatever more he gets. P. Ryan caught that ball, and he very well could have had 15 more yards after that. So that was a bad play by Flacco. He ended up getting sacked, which wasn't 100% on the offensive line because Flacco did miss a wide-open receiver that was right in front of him, and then eventually your offensive line is going to break. You can't expect your offensive line to guard you all day. And then it ended up being a sack, 3rd down and 7. Then they throw it. Flacco tries to make a last-second back off his back foot throw to Perryman. It wasn't an awful throw, but back foot. You're not expecting anyone to really catch it. It was kind of just a miracle heave, maybe hoping for a PI or a miracle catch. Bad throw there, and then they punted the ball away. Patriots made it interesting without a doubt. Jets missed a tackle on a screen play that very well could have forced this game into overtime. I'm pretty sure it was Hewitt. Hewitt, it was a ball, gave it to the running back screen. Hewitt just missed him. Hewitt missed him. He tackles him there. That clock keeps running. One timeout. They don't have much. They're not going to have enough time. Sure enough, he ended up missing that tackle, and he ended up getting like a 15-yard play on that, and that ended up really messing things up for the New York Jets. They ended up 3 seconds left. Nick Folk nailing a 51-yard field goal, which hurt me. I don't know if it hurt many Jets fans, because I think a lot of Jets fans were actually happy because they lost. But for me, I'm not a fan of tanking. I'm not a fan of that. I've never been, never probably will. I've been rooting for this team forever now, and I know how it's every year it's the same stuff. I want to see this team finally succeed. It's annoying every single year when this play is on the field. I have to watch this play every single week on the field. So it's obviously frustrating. But the New York Jets do in fact fall to 0-2. Or 0-2, 0-9, and obviously, we have a bye week, then we play the Chargers next week, and maybe, if we're, maybe, just maybe, not beating the Chargers, but one thing I just want to kind of say is, if we could even keep these games close the rest of the season, that's a positive, possibly, that's a positive. Well, I don't think they will be close, but, I think Herbert's going to have a field day against us. That's obviously just going to a bye week. This is a tough loss to go into a bye week because everyone says it. And not even just me. You ask people, even Cam Newton said it. Last week, he had the fumble. And he said in his interview he could not wait to play a game. He wanted to get his revenge game. Kind of a game to, erase what happened last week. Sometimes, players, that's tough for players to do that. And same thing with the Jets. The Jets blew this lead. To go now to a bye week, with that blown lead, you just want to go out there on the field and just play again. Because you just want to erase that and just go out there and try to, erase that quickly. Now they got a bye week, so they got to let this melt with them. They got to let this sit with them for an entire week. So if the Jets were going to have a loss like this where they blew the game, it would not be a good idea. Because sometimes when you have a bad play or you make a mistake late in the game or you throw the game-losing interception, sometimes you want a quick game. That's why I've always say Thursday night games are sometimes good for teams that are struggling. Because if you're a team that's struggling and all of a sudden you have an easy opponent coming up on Thursday night, that's a quick bounce back. You have a quick bounce back and there you go, you're right back on track. So the Jets now going to a bye week, having to sit with this loss is going to be a tough one for this team. But we're 0-9 and on our way to 0-16 and on our way to hopefully what a lot of people think is one of the best quarterbacks coming out of college ever in Trevor Lawrence. So let me just read some of the numbers last night. Joe Flacco went 18-25, 262 yards, 14.6 was his average. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He took a sack, which was a bad time to take a sack, and his rating was 128.7. Frank Gore had 12 attempts, 46 yards, 3.8 was his average. P. Ryan had 6 carries, 19 yards, 3.2 was his average. Perryman had a big day. He had 7 targets, 5 catches for 101 yards, 20.2 was his average, 2 touchdowns. Crowder had 2 targets, 2 catches, 26 yards and a touchdown. And Mims had another promising start for many Jets fans. He had 8 targets, 4 catches, 62 yards, 15.5 was his touchdown or his average. He's had back-to-back very good weeks. 3 straight weeks he's been very solid. So very positive things out of Mims. Now all he's got to do is just get into the end zone for him. And as for the Patriots, Cam Newton went 27-35, 274, 101 yards. He did not have a touchdown or an interception. He ran one. He ran 2 in, and then Burkhead had another. Damian Harris had 14 carries, 71 yards, 5.1 his average. He did leave the game with an injury. Rex Burkhead had 12 carries, 56 yards, 4.7 was his average, and he also had a touchdown. Cam Newton went 10 carries, 16 yards, 1.6 was his average, 2 touchdowns. Myers went 14 targets, had 14 targets, 12 catches, 169 yards. Bird, who had 9 targets, 5 receptions, 65 yards. So overall, a pretty solid offensive performance for the New England Patriots. Brady got pressured. Harvey Lange pressured Brady, but did not get a sack. There was that one play where Brady literally had a guy on his back, and he was able to get him off of him and make a throw, and that also hurt us too. So the New York Jets fall to 0-9 on the season, and New England Patriots fall to 3-5. And like I said, bad coaching late, bad play late hurts the New York Jets in this loss. They fall to 0-9. So this is the Jets' upcoming schedule, and you all probably already know it, but this is the upcoming schedule for the New York Jets. So we have a bye week. So this week's a bye week for us. Bye week, obviously, no game. So Jets do not have a game this week, so they'll have a bye week, time to rest up, which is actually good for us because as long as our receivers stay healthy, Mekhi Becton left the game with a chest injury, and Poole left the game with a knee injury. If they could somehow be healthy to come back, that wouldn't be too bad. But week 10, we have a bye week this week. So next week, after our bye week, we play the Chargers. Then we play the Dolphins. Then we play the Raiders, Seahawks, Rams, Browns, and then we'll finish it off with the New England Patriots. So that is your you got 7 games left. 7 games left. So 7 games, in my opinion now, we have 7 games left, and I want to see these rookies. I want to see what these rookies can do, right? Our season's over. 0-9, not even a chance now to finish at 500 or above 500, anything. Even if we win 7 games, we're still finishing below 500. So we're 0-9 now. One thing I want to look forward to the rest of the season is I want to see what P. Ryan can do. I want to see what Mims can do. I want to see what Darnold and this receiving core can do. Flacco also had a supporting cast yesterday that the Jets were expected to have. So I want to see what these rookies can do. That's kind of what I want to see. So the New York Jets fall once again, and they moved to 0-9. So that's kind of their deal there. If you're looking at it, the Jets have 3 home games left, 4 road games left. So the Jets are road away against the Chargers, away or home against the Dolphins, home against the Raiders, away against the Seahawks, away against the Rams. They'll finish off their homestand with the Browns, then their final game of the season is away against the Patriots. So the Jets have 3 home games, 4 away games remaining this season. So that is it for the New York Jets. That would be it for the New York Jets. So the New York Jets now are obviously 0-9, like I've said many times already. So that is Week 9. So Week 9 is officially over. By the way, my game picks, this is how I did on my game picks this week. I went 11-3. Obviously, last night I got last night's pick correct, so I went 11-3. That now moves me to 94-43 on the season. So I need literally 6 wins. So I need 6 wins to get me over the hump for 100 wins. So that's good. I'm expecting to probably get that this week. There are definitely some good games this week, but I think I should get 6 wins. So that's it. And now we'll just read off Week 10 games. These are the upcoming Week 10 games. We got the Colts, Titans, Buccaneers, Panthers, Eagles, Giants, Jaguars, Packers, Texans, Browns, Redskins, Lions, Bills, Cardinals. That's going to be a very, very, very good game. Broncos, Raiders, Chargers, Dolphins, 49ers, Saints, Bengals, Steelers, Seahawks, Rams, Ravens, Patriots, and then Monday night will be Vikings, Bears. So those are your Week 10 games coming up for the NFL. So, Week 9's in the books. We got 9 weeks in the book, and we've got 7 to go. So, NFL season already halfway through. So, like I said, you'll find out now. You already are starting to get a good idea. You already starting to get a good idea of which teams are in. You had a good idea which teams are in the beginning of the season, like October. But now you really get a good idea. A team like the Patriots could possibly be a team that are, on the outside looking in, but could be a team that maybe make a late push. Same thing with the Vikings. I know this might sound crazy. Look at their upcoming schedule. Look at the Vikings' upcoming schedule. I mean, it's crazy. They have a lot of easy games coming up. They could very well be 6-5, 7-5 very soon. So the Vikings have an easy schedule coming up. So, look, a team like them could be on the outside looking in. Watch out. So, you definitely got to, be careful with that. So, obviously, I think it's going to be an entertaining final couple weeks of the season. Obviously, the NFC East is still completely up in the air. For all we know, the Cowboys could still win a division. So the NFC East is completely up in the air. So that's going to be interesting to see who takes that division. There's a big game coming up this week with the Eagles and the Giants. We'll obviously preview that then. But there's a couple good games this week. Cardinals, Bills. That's going to be an insane game. I think it's going to might be the best game of the week. That might be the best game of the week. I mean, you're talking about 2 evenly matched teams. 2 good offenses, 2 good offenses, 2 good defenses, 2 good defenses. So, you got a very evenly matched game right there. So, that's going to be a pretty good game there. Now let's move on to fantasy. So, like I said, fantasy and the Jets Patriots are going to be one thing. I don't know. I just wanted to talk about Kentucky's schedule today a little bit. And also, I think fantasy, I kind of talked about it yesterday. I had no players going yesterday, so it didn't make a difference. Fantasy results. Sometimes I'll do fantasy results because I'll have a player Monday, but yesterday I did not have nobody, so my score's the same. So this week, this is who I'm playing in my one league. I'll just go to this league first. So my one league, this is who I am playing. I've got Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers starting. Some of these guys are just automatic locks. Chris Carson, questionable. I'm starting him. David Johnson, starting him. Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson, Rob Gronkowski, Robert Woods, Washington defense, not going to start them. Harrison Butker. So at the moment, that's it. Elliott, by the way, is on a bye week. I'm not benching Elliott. He's on a bye week this week. And Gurley, I'm not benching him either. He's also on a bye week this week. So that's there. Bills defense I'm not playing, nor am I playing the Redskins. These are my two pending moves. I'm picking up Daniel Carlson since Butker's on a bye, and I'm going to pick up the Eagles defense as well. I'm not interested in Eagles or Giants defense. Whatever one is better. I'm still kind of thinking about that. Just some questionables this week. If you're in a situation where I am and you have Chris Carson, just keep your heads up. Really, to be honest, I have no other running backs, and I am starting Robert Woods this week. I just like his matchup against that Seahawks secondary. That defense has been awful. That defense has been absolutely awful. So that secondary is thin. They run a lot of zones where they give you a lot of cushion, and I think Robert Woods would take advantage of that with his speed, so I'm playing him. Chris Carson this week. Coach Pete Carroll said Carson foot is expected to practice this week to see if return is possible Sunday against the Rams. Curtis Crabtree of Sports Radio 950 KJR Seattle reports. So that is most recent. That came out yesterday. So hopefully he does play. And also for David Johnson, this came out Sunday. Johnson won't return to Sunday's game against the Jaguars after suffering concussion. So this happened with Allen Robinson. So just keep your eyes out for this one. This one you'll probably find out Friday, Saturday. So this one you'll find out towards the end of the week. Chris Carson you'll probably find out today, tomorrow, Thursday, something like that. So, it's Tuesday. So you got time. You've got time. I'm just giving you kind of your just an outlook. You got time to still think about that. Also, Gronkowski, too. I don't know if I'm going to play him or not. That's also kind of up in the air. I have not liked what I saw out of him last week. Did not like what I've seen out of him basically all season. The only reason I put him in was because I thought, with you got the three main receivers out there, I thought they would not cover him that much. They covered him. He wasn't able to really get the ball that much. He had one catch for 2 yards. David Johnson. This is probably going to be concussion protocol, so he's going to have to clear concussion protocol. I think it takes about 3 to 4 to 5 days to clear it. So you would probably find out about Friday to Saturday. That's the same thing with Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson, I found out Saturday, I think, where they said he would be able to play. So this is something you're probably not going to find out till the end of the week. So don't hesitate, but also be prepared. Because these are one of these things that you could think you have your lineup set, and then all of a sudden, the day before all the games, you find out, and mainly by Saturday, everyone's done their waivers. So the day before the game, you find out, oh no, I forgot that this guy's not playing. You maybe have to make a waiver move. So just keep your eyes out for that. And it might not happen. It might. I don't know. But all you know is he is playing Cleveland. And, I don't know, that defense isn't amazing, outside of Garrett. I think, he shouldn't have a bad game. But, he only had 16 yards because he had two runs for 16 yards. So he had about 8 yards a run. So he was on pace to have a decent game, and he got a concussion. And that hurt him the rest of the way. So just watch out. Watch out for him. Just watch out. That's all I'm going to say. Same thing with Chris Carson. In my other league, I'm right now also dealing with a questionable. I've been two questionables. Although I'm not really concerned about A.J. Brown every week. He's questionable. It's kind of funny because I was even talking about this the other day. I feel like ever since George Kittle, and by the way, my other league still have George Kittle in my hour. Ever since George Kittle got injured, I feel like my team has gotten injured. I remember coming onto this podcast, too, and saying, this year outside of George Kittle's IR, I've not had any really major injuries. And now all of a sudden, boom, just like that, 4 or 5 players are questionable. It's crazy. I feel like all of a sudden, ever since I say that, I jinxed it. Now everyone's being questionable in both leagues. So in my one league, by the way, this week's a very big week. In my one league. This week's a huge week in this league. This week is an absolutely ginormous week for me. At the moment, it is an insanely close week. This is a huge week for me in fantasy. Right now, I'm in the 5th seed. 4 players make it. I'm in the 5th seed right now. I'm on the outside looking in. I need to win this week. Next week, I play the person that I'm tied with, which would be huge. That game could come down to deciding the season. So this week is big for me in both my leagues, actually. This league I have Deshaun Watson, Kenyon Drake, James Robinson, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin, Hunter Henry, A.J. Brown, Washington defense, Daniel Carlson. My bench, Tyreek Hill, he's on a bye week. Antonio Gibson, Rams defense. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on a bye week. And Joe Burrow and Chase Edmonds. And my pending moves here, if as long as no one else takes them, I'll be picking up Eagles defense. Eagles defense for Washington. And A.J. Brown, by the way, Brown knee was listed as a non-participant on Monday's practice estimate. So that came out yesterday. I'm sure we'll find out more today on his health. And as for Kenyon Drake, obviously he was out last week with the injuries. Coach Cliff Kingsbury called Drake ankle day-to-day on Monday. Kyle Odegaard, the Cardinals' official site, reports. So keep your eyes out for those two. Like I said, it's only Tuesday, but, if you're going to pick up a waiver claim or something like that, just keep your eyes out for it. Make sure, everything goes, don't wait till Sunday and all of a sudden find he's got it out and then got to don't wait till 12:50 Eastern or whatever. Don't wait till 5 minutes before the game starts, notice he's out, and then got to go pick up some random off of the waivers. Just keep your eyes out for it. It's Tuesday, and the game starts Sunday, so keep your eyes out for it. And luckily, they don't have a Thursday night game either, so just watch out. I think both leagues right now I'm set. I am starting Mike Evans. They're playing against Carolina. It's not a great defense. I'm also starting Godwin. I don't know if that's going to be set. Tuesday, a lot of stuff happens depending on what happens with waivers. That's something I kind of want to make clear here. A lot of things happen depending on what happens with my waivers. If I get just certain waiver claims, then this guy will be starting, this guy won't be. That's really kind of depending. And also how the rest of the league goes. So that's kind of the deal there. So that's fantasy this week for you guys. Like I said, Tuesday, I used to just talk about my results, and I'm not. So I kind of give you tips and stuff, which is, I think, a little bit better to do than just give you the results and stuff. So that should be good. So now coming up next, we got Kentucky's basketball schedule. Kind of give you a little bit of a season preview as a tomorrow. Tomorrow is officially, Actually, hold on a second. Anyway. Alright, sorry about that. So we are now going to move on to Kentucky basketball schedule. Kind of give you my whole deal on that. Kind of give you, my opinion on it. Give you kind of a prediction, a little bit of a prediction. I think what I might do is the first game is November 25th. It's November 10th right now. So we got time. Actually, a week tomorrow will be, right? I think a week tomorrow. Yeah, so a week tomorrow. Will be tomorrow. 2 weeks tomorrow will be the start of the season. So obviously, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But I'm going to kind of give you the schedule. I think what I'm going to do is probably either that day of the game, or I'll definitely be doing special preview on that day of the game. Especially that's a Wednesday, so it's not like I have any other football to cover. I'll especially doing a special preview on that day of the game. But just keep your eyes out for, just keep your eyes out for any, special videos with Kentucky, something like that. I might be doing one. But today it's going to kind of be Kentucky schedule. So coming up next, Kentucky schedule. Okay. Alrighty. So now let's talk about Kentucky's schedule. Oh, so Sandy Alderstein says it's very likely to lose Rojas. Okay. There's just some Mets news. Just MLB news in general. Steve Cohen had his officially introductory press conference today. For the Mets, obviously he's the new owner there. So yes, that's gonna be it's gonna be interesting. Let me just see. Alrighty. Sorry, I'm just reading about quick news there. Alright, so let me get this Kentucky schedule up here. I want to see. So I'm going to talk about Kentucky's schedule, their rankings, and a little bit about the roster because they took a complete roster makeover to kind of say the very least. I mean, they had a complete roster makeover this season. It's pretty crazy how big the roster makeover was, but they have made a definitely a very, very big one. So their schedule is not up there yet. Okay, so I have another area to put their schedule in. So so Kentucky basketball schedule obviously came out Friday. We still got obviously a little bit to go until the season starts, but it's still very exciting to at least. I've been waiting for a long time. It's still very exciting to at least see what it's gonna look like what it's gonna look like. Whether even if it's not, even if it's even it might be changed. There might be a couple changes, but the fact that we at least know, we at least get some sort of look at it. It's cool. So let me just get it up here on the schedule. There's a lot of pretty good games there. I mean, there's definitely some early. It's definitely early on. They're playing some of those young, kind of those small teams, those not as known teams. Which can be good for us, but also at the same time, sometimes I like to see good competition as well. But this is their schedule, so let me just get it up here. So we got it. So this is the Kentucky's basketball 2021 schedule. So I'm gonna first read through the schedule, and then we'll go and not really preview every single game, but I'm gonna kind of to walk you through some of the big games. We definitely have some of the marquee games. The bigger games, there's definitely some games on here that, aren't the best games. There's games on here that they're going to win. I can almost guarantee it. And there's also some games on here that might be more of a toss-up or even close. So let's get into it. So with all that talk, let's get into it. So just going to read you schedule, and then after that, I'll kind of, just give you the whole deal there. And I'll tell you if they're home and away. So their first game, November 25th. So they have 3 games in a span of 4 days. So they play November 5th, November 22nd, November 27th, November 29th. Then they play December 1st. Then their next game will be December 6th. Then they play December 12th. So they have almost a week off. And then they play 19th, and then they get into that span of where they're playing almost every other day, where they're playing on a Saturday and probably like either a Tuesday or Wednesday. So let's get into it here. So Kentucky's basketball schedule. So we got first game, Morehead State. Then we play Detroit Mercy. Then we play Richmond. Then we play Kansas, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, UCLA, Louisville, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Florida, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, LSU, Alabama again, Texas, Missouri, Tennessee, Arkansas, Auburn again, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Florida again, and an Ole Miss. So those are all of our games. So let's get into the home games. So these are the home games. So we're home against Morehead State, home against Detroit Mercy, home against Richmond. The Kansas and the Georgia Tech game are neutral sites. Those are events. Then we're home against Notre Dame. UCLA, that game will be a neutral site. Then we are away against Louisville, home against South Carolina, away against Mississippi State, home against Vanderbilt, away against Florida, home against Alabama, on the road against Auburn and Georgia back-to-back. Then we're home, then we're away, then we're home. Then we're home against LSU, away against Alabama, home against Texas. That's what I just read. And then we're away against Missouri, home against Tennessee. Then we get a 3-game homestand. We're home against Tennessee, home against Arkansas, home against Auburn. On the road, back-to-back against Vanderbilt and Tennessee. Then we're home twice against Texas A&M, Florida. Then we'll close out the season on the road against Ole Miss. And then you got the SEC tournament. And then March Madness, and then so on and so forth. But that's all the way in March. We're not going to get into all that right now. This season hasn't even started yet. So that is their schedule. So let me label some of the marquee games on here. Some of the games that are toss-ups and some of the good games. Not saying they're going to, not saying that, it's a guaranteed win or a guaranteed loss. These are the games that are probably going to be the best games out of all of them. I think that Kansas game is going to be a close game. Kansas is a powerhouse. Good coach, good players, a lot of good guys, a lot of good big men on that team. Kentucky might be outsized, but I think it also might come down to the shooting. So Kansas, that's a big game. Notre Dame's going to be a good game. Notre Dame's really built up that program. Their team's pretty good as well. Notre Dame's going to be a good game. UCLA is always a good game, no matter how good it is. UCLA has always had a good basketball program. Louisville both times, on the road and home against Louisville. You know how it is. Louisville, Kentucky is always a tough matchup. Obviously, Kentucky and Louisville being in the same state, they're rivals. You got one half of the states, it's divided. The state's pretty much divided. You got one half of it's Kentucky, the other half is Louisville. That's like the battle for who's really the champion of the state that year, who's really the better team. That's always a good game. And no matter how good or bad the teams are that year, that's always a good game because that team's always going to go out 100%. Florida, Auburn's, they've had a very good basketball program. Kentucky, and we've had some painful losses against them over the years. LSU last season started to come around. They did lose some players, but they have a lot of young talent. So, there's a possibility that they do definitely, that's going to be a competitive game. Texas should be a good game. That's going to be fun. That's the Big 12 SEC matchup there. Auburn, Tennessee, and Florida. So your big games are the LSU. Here are your big games. You got Kansas, UCLA, then Louisville, both home and away. Auburn, both home and away. Florida, both home and away. LSU, both home and away. Auburn, both home and away. So those are you're looking at the schedule and you're sitting here and thinking, okay, they probably start off the season 3-0. So they probably play Morehead State, win, Detroit Mercy, win, and then they play Richmond and probably win. More than likely, as long as Kentucky doesn't get caught looking ahead to these big matchups against Kansas and stuff, more than likely they start off the season 3-0. Then your first real big matchups in December. That's Kansas, December 1st. That's your first big matchup. That's you're gonna start off 3-0. That's when you're gonna really find out if this Kentucky team is good or not. That's when you're going to really start to find out if this team's legit. Because I'm not trying to say, I don't want to say anything because we did lose to Evansville last year. But barring any crazy upsets, Kentucky's going to go 3-0 into that Kansas game. So that Kansas game is going to be a true test. It's going to be a primetime game or, a nationally televised game. It's going to be a big event against Kansas, against a team like Kansas that everyone knows how good they are, a top 5 team. That's going to be your true test for a lot of these young guys under pressure to see really what they're really made out of. Georgia Tech, something about that game, I feel like Kentucky's going to run away with that one. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Georgia Tech, I just something about Georgia Tech. I know it's an event and I know stuff. I just don't know. On that UCLA game, December 19th, that's one of the better games on the schedule, I feel like. I feel like that's going to be a pretty good game. But Kansas early on in the season is a true task. For these young players, Boston, Topman, Keon Brooks, who's a veteran, you're going to need guys like Keon Brooks to come up and be a leader on that court. You're without some of these other guys because they either declared for a draft or they just, were seniors and stuff. So it's going to be interesting. That Louisville both times. I think Louisville, out of every game I've seen as Kentucky, sometimes those are the best games. No matter if both teams are awful that year, they're always good games to watch. And obviously, right now we're in the midst of where both teams are very good. Kentucky's been good for a very long time, but, both teams right now are at the top of their game. Both teams right now are talk of college basketball, so it's always fun to see them to play against each other. Notre Dame came around last year. They had a couple big wins last year. That should be an interesting game. Auburn, Auburn always brings up a fight against us. I always find that we find the most trouble to beat Auburn, whether that's in the SEC championship game or in the March Madness. We always run into Auburn there, and I feel like we always struggled. Regular season, we don't really have that big of a problem with Auburn. I find we beat them in the regular season. But it comes down to the big game, whether that's an SEC championship game, whether that's the March Madness. I always find we can't beat Auburn, but I think those 2 Auburn games should be good. I think we may either split that series or go 2-0, something like that. But all in all, I think Kentucky I think Kentucky will have a pretty successful season. From what I'm hearing out of a lot of sources I trust close to Kentucky basketball, a lot of these young guys are impressing. There's some guys that weren't 5-stars that came here that are really playing very, very, very well. That a lot of people might have not expected that, and they're really going out there and playing really well. So that should be pretty good there. So let's get into the rankings now. The rankings came out a couple days ago. I'm just going to read them off to you. So college basketball rankings. There we go. Boom. All right. So we'll just go right there. All right. So these are the rankings for this season's AP Top 25. So here we go. So we got Gonzaga's number 1, Baylor's number 2, Villanova's 3, Virginia's 4, Iowa's 5, Kansas 6, Wisconsin 7, Illinois 8, Duke 9, Kentucky 10, Creighton 11, Tennessee 12, Michigan State 13, Texas Tech 14, West Virginia 15, North Carolina 16, Houston 17, Arizona State 18, Texas 19, Oregon 20, Florida State 21, UCLA 22, Ohio State 23, Rutgers 24, Michigan 25. So that is your rankings for college basketball. I think I read those yesterday, maybe. But just doing them again. These are the teams that were not ranked, that are now ranked. UCLA was not ranked. They are now ranked. So these are the teams that were not ranked last season, or they were ranked last season, but they were not ranked to, I think, end the year or whatever, that they are ranked now. So these are the teams. So Tennessee, Texas Tech, North Carolina, Arizona State, Texas, UCLA, Rutgers, and Michigan. North Carolina last season had a lot of young players. They lost a lot of veterans this season. I think they might have a bounce back. North Carolina always has had a pretty good program. And obviously Kentucky's 10. Kentucky's literally in the middle of it. So Kentucky, they have a lot of balance. They could either go up, go back. They're in the middle. So Kentucky, I like them being in the top 10. I believe Kentucky's better than Illinois. I think Illinois should not be as high as they are. I think a lot of teams. I think Michigan State's very well better than Illinois. I mean, I really do. I mean, you can make even the argument that I think a lot of these teams are better than Illinois. I don't think Illinois should be number 8. Neither do I think Wisconsin. I think Michigan State's better than Illinois. I think Michigan State's better than Wisconsin. I could even make the argument that Creighton's better than Illinois. I could even sit here and tell you that if North Carolina's on their game, they could beat Illinois. I understand Illinois is a good team. Are they top 8 in the nation? I don't know if I agree with that. And kind of just stuff like that. So, yeah. And like I said, back to the roster point. There's a lot of young guys we got. A lot of young guys, a lot of new faces on this team. But what I like about it is Calipari is such a good coach. John Calipari, obviously, has been so successful with this program. He's been good with it, with these roster makeovers where he gets a bunch of new players. He's used to this, so I really think he'll live up to the hype and have a very good season. And now let's move into all games. All the college football games. Today. So we got some good games on today, some decent ones, nothing crazy. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, 3. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got 4 games on today. It looks like all of them are on TV. No, we only have 3 games on today. I'm sorry. So we only have 3 games on today. And then we have 1, 2, 3 on tomorrow. So we have 3 today, 3 tomorrow. All the games today look like they are televised. Looks like that's the case. So these are the games today. So we got Akron, Ohio. I'll give Ohio the win. We got Kent State, Bowling Green. I'll give Kent State the win. And we got Miami, Ohio, Buffalo. I watched the Buffalo Northern Illinois game the other day on Wednesday, and Buffalo looked good. So I give Buffalo the win. So Ohio and Akron, that's on CBS Sports at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Kent State, Bowling Green, that's on ESPN2 at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in Buffalo, Miami, Ohio is at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. ESPN at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll probably kind of switch through all those games. So those are tonight's football games if you're interested in watching those. So yeah. So what I'm kind of thinking is there's a lot of NBA news. I'm still waiting for the whole schedule to come out. It's crazy to think that the NBA is already starting December 22nd. I might talk a little bit about the Nets. I've not talked about the Nets much. I mean, the Nets had an early exit, and there just wasn't much to talk about with them. They had an early exit. They're now with free agencies coming up though. The draft is coming up November 18th. So today's the 10th. So we have 8 days. So a week tomorrow will be the draft. So I'll probably do my mock draft. I don't know if I'll do it this week or if I'll do it next week, or I might just do it on draft day. It's good that everything started on a Wednesday because that gives me flexibility. Because usually, Monday, Tuesday football, Thursday, Friday's football. So Wednesday's kind of your day where I could put in all sports. I could talk about a variety of different things. Obviously, enjoy the games if you're watching them tonight. Some small games, nothing crazy. No Clemson, Alabamas, or Michigans, or Ohio States, or Clemson, or whatever. I already said them. None of those big schools. But there's definitely some small games. It's football. It's something to watch. Obviously, without the World Series. I mean, I'm used to it now. But the World Series has been gone 2 weeks now, 3 weeks now. So without the World Series, obviously it's good to have something on because usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays not much on. So there's some small college games on today if you're interested in watching them. CBS Sports, ESPN2, and ESPN. Those are the 3 channels they're on. So if you're interested in watching them, feel free or whatever. It's your choice. But anyway, that's what I got for the podcast today. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Tomorrow, I might talk about MLB free agency. There's a lot of news around it. A little bit LeMahieu news I think I might talk about. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, December 22nd, the season starts, so I don't know if I'll talk a little bit about the Nets. Not like giving you a preview, but kind of just talk about their free agency too. But, that's 3 topics right there. I'll think about it. I'll definitely think about it there. So, with all that being said, that will do it for today's podcast. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.